There are stories you don't just hear with your ears, stories you feel deep in your bones. This is one of those stories. The story of a woman who walks through her life giving everything she has. We don't know what she seeks at first, perhaps a promotion, perhaps just a moment of peace. Along the way, she is shaped by three forces: a bright fire of passion that loves the work, a silent fog of exhaustion that creeps in when no one is watching, and a heavy weight of duty that carries the burdens of others. But what if each of them were, in truth, a part of us? Our spark, our shadow, our persona. This is a story about burnout, but it's also about the collapse of a life that wasn't ours, and the difficult journey back to the person we were always meant to be. Listen closely, not with your mind, but with whatever part of you feels tired. Because perhaps, just perhaps, her story begins with the exact same feeling you have right now.
So, have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world but no one sees it? Like you're pouring every ounce of yourself into something you love, only to wake up one day and find the spark gone, replaced by a hollow ache that won't let go? It's not just fatigue, it's a soul-deep exhaustion, a fog that creeps into your bones and dims the light you once carried. If this feels familiar, pause and breathe. You're not failing, and you're not alone. Today we're stepping into the true story of Linda, a woman who burned brightly until the world's demands snuffed out her flame. Through the lens of Carl Jung's profound wisdom, we'll unravel why burnout happens, what it's trying to tell you, and how it can become the spark of your rebirth. Stay with me, and I promise you'll see burnout not as an end, but as a call to rediscover your true self, a call that can lead to a heroic transformation.
Imagine Linda, a vibrant woman in her early 30s, stepping into her role as assistant manager at a bustling grocery store with a fire in her heart. She loved her work, the hum of the store, the chatter of customers, the rhythm of leading her team. Linda was a natural. Her smile disarmed complaints, her quick thinking boosted sales, and her leadership inspired her colleagues. She wasn't just good at her job, she lived for it. Her team adored her fairness, her customers trusted her warmth, and even her higher-ups noticed her knack for stepping in as acting manager, keeping everything running smoothly. But behind the scenes, a storm was brewing, one that would test her spirit in ways she never imagined. In Linda's world, there were two other managers: Anton, the store's head, and Bertha, the HR lead. On paper, they were a team. In her soul, she knew she was carrying them both. To Linda, Anton seemed a man without a core, a ghost in a manager's uniform, swayed by flattery and quick to vanish when responsibility called. But Bertha was a different kind of storm, a quiet manipulator who thrived on a control so subtle others rarely saw it. She would weaponize a smile or a whisper to bend Anton to her will,
securing the best schedules for herself, weekends off, easy shifts, while dumping the worst on Linda, like late-night inventory or early morning openings. Bertha spread lies, pinned her mistakes on others, and sowed discord with baseless accusations, often targeting Linda to undermine her. Both loved the power of their titles, but shirked the work, leaving Linda to pick up the slack, handling customer complaints, fixing their errors, and shielding the team from their unfair treatment. Linda, with her kind heart and fierce sense of justice, refused to let the store falter. She fought for her team, advocating for fair schedules and respect when Anton and Bertha dismissed workers as pawns. She covered their absences, apologized to higher-ups for their blunders, and took on endless tasks, stocking shelves, managing inventory, soothing upset customers, all while keeping a smile. But the weight was growing. She'd stay late, her phone buzzing with work emails long after closing. She'd lie awake at night, replaying confrontations with Bertha, who'd accuse her of slacking despite Linda's relentless effort. The promises of a promotion to manager kept her going, but those promises were always just a few more months away, dangled like a carrot she could never reach. There was one light in this chaos: Ethan, a colleague who shared Linda's values. Together, they were unstoppable. Ethan matched her work ethic, leading by example and treating the team with respect. They'd laugh through the stress, brainstorm ways to motivate the staff, and make the store feel alive. Linda often thought, without Ethan, I couldn't do this. He was her ally, her anchor, the one person who saw the real her, not just the assistant manager, but the woman pouring her soul into her work. For 4 years, Linda thrived on this partnership, even as the demands piled higher. But then, everything changed. Ethan was promoted and transferred to another store. The news hit Linda like a punch. She was happy for him, he deserved it, but his absence left a void. The store felt colder, the days longer. Without Ethan's support, Linda faced Anton and Bertha alone. The tasks multiplied, the lies grew bolder, and the injustice stung deeper. Bertha's schedules became punitive, assigning Linda grueling shifts while she lounged. Anton's apathy worsened, leaving Linda to handle crises he ignored, like the time a delivery error left the store understocked, and Linda stayed until 2 a.m. to fix it. She began to notice strange signs in her body, a tightness in her chest, a fog in her mind, a tiredness that sleep couldn't touch. She brushed it off as stress, telling herself, just keep going, you're strong, you've got this. But her strength was cracking. The passion that once fueled her faded. Opening the store each morning felt like climbing a mountain. Smiling for customers became a performance. The team still looked to her for guidance, but her warmth felt forced, like a mask she couldn't take off. A year after Ethan's departure, the company finally offered her the promotion to manager. She'd earned it, Ethan told her in a heartfelt call, urging her to hold on. She had won the race, only to realize the finish line was empty. The spark was gone. 6 months later, Linda collapsed, not physically, but wholly. She couldn't get out of bed. Her body refused to move, her mind drowned in a grey haze. The diagnosis was burnout, but it felt like something deeper, like her soul had given up. The world gave Linda's condition a name, burnout. But that label only describes the symptom, not the cause. To understand what truly happened, how a fire can turn to ash, we must look deeper than the surface of work and stress. We must look to the soul. Carl Jung, the psychologist who plumbed the depths of the human psyche, knew that this kind of collapse wasn't just about overwork, it was a crisis of the self. In the Red Book, Jung described his own descent into darkness, a period of chaos that forced him to confront his unconscious. He believed that burnout, like depression, is a signal from the self
the core of who you are, crying out when you've strayed too far from it. Linda's story is a perfect reflection of this. She poured herself into her persona, the mask of the perfect manager, the reliable leader, the one who could handle anything. But in doing so, she lost touch with her deeper self, the woman who loved her work for its meaning, not its demands. Jung would see Linda's burnout as a clash between her conscious life and her unconscious needs. Her persona was all about duty, serving the team, fixing others' mistakes, proving her worth. But her self craved authenticity, purpose, and balance. The more she ignored that inner voice, the louder it screamed, until it shut her down entirely. Jung wrote, "The spirit of the depths demands to be heard." For Linda, the relentless tasks, the toxic dynamics with Anton and Bertha, and the betrayal of broken promises were external pressures. But the real collapse came from within. Her soul was starving, buried under the weight of a life that wasn't hers. Let's pause here. This isn't about being fake or consciously wearing a mask. It's about the role we learn to play so well that it becomes second nature. Have you ever felt like the part you play in the world, the dedicated worker, the reliable friend, the strong parent, has become so demanding that there's little room left for the rest of you? That public-facing self, the one we present to navigate the world, is what Jung called the persona. The problem arises when, to perfect that role, we have to push aside everything that doesn't fit: our exhaustion, our anger, our true needs. In Jungian thought, these parts we banish into darkness are known as the shadow, the price we pay so our public role can continue to function. For Linda, her shadow was the anger she swallowed when Bertha lied, the exhaustion she hid to seem strong, the dreams she set aside for the store's demands. Burnout happens when the shadow grows too heavy, when the role you play leaves no room for who you are. It's not just about working too hard, it's about living disconnected from your own soul. Why did this happen to Linda? Jung's concept of the collective unconscious offers a clue. We all carry archetypes, universal patterns of human experience. One is the hero, who faces trials to find truth. Linda was a hero in her work, fighting for her team, battling injustice. But she was also trapped in the caregiver archetype, always giving, never taking. Jung believed that when we over-identify with one archetype, we neglect others, like the explorer, who seeks personal growth, or the sage, who seeks wisdom. Linda's burnout was her soul's rebellion, demanding she reclaim those neglected parts, for a soul cannot survive without meaning. And as Viktor Frankl, a man who found meaning in the deepest pits of suffering, wrote in his immortal work, Man's Search for Meaning, when a man cannot find meaning, he numbs himself with pleasure or power. For Linda, the meaning she once found in her work, connection, leadership, purpose, was drowned out by the grind. Without Ethan, her anchor, she lost the sense of why she was fighting. Burnout, in Jung's view, is what happens when your life lacks meaning, when your self is starved of purpose. Linda's collapse wasn't a failure, it was a wake-up call. So, how do you heal from burnout? Jung's path is one of individuation, the journey to integrate your persona, shadow, and self.
For Linda, this meant facing the truth. She had to stop running from her exhaustion and listen to it. Jung would suggest active imagination, a practice where you dialogue with your unconscious. Linda could sit with a journal and ask, "What am I hiding? What does my soul need?" The answers might be raw: anger at Bertha's manipulation, grief over Ethan's absence, or a longing for a life beyond the store. Writing without judgment is like shining a light into the shadow, revealing what's been buried. Another step is creating rituals to reconnect with the self. Jung believed symbols and rituals bridge the conscious and unconscious. Linda could choose one small cluttered space in her home, a messy drawer, a pile of old mail, and without pressure, slowly bring it to order. The goal wouldn't be the cleaning itself, but the simple, meditative act of creating clarity in one small corner of her world. Or she could walk in nature, phone off, letting silence speak. These acts aren't cures, they're lifelines, reminding you that you're more than your role. Frankl's wisdom adds another layer. Find meaning, even in small moments. Linda could start by savoring a quiet coffee, rediscovering joy in simple things, or setting boundaries, saying no to extra shifts, refusing to cover for Anton and Bertha.
But healing isn't just about looking inward, it's about changing the external. Linda needed to confront the toxic dynamics. Jung would say this requires embracing the shadow, her anger, her limits, her right to rest. Instead of apologizing for Anton and Bertha, she could call out their behavior, calmly but firmly, to her higher-ups. She could document their absences, their rule-breaking, and present it as a case for change. This isn't about revenge, it's about restoring her psychological sovereignty. Jung believed that true strength comes from integrating the shadow, not suppressing it. Let's go deeper. Why is burnout so universal? Jung's collective unconscious suggests we're all shaped by shared human struggles. In a world that worships the persona of success, a persona that must be productive, perfect, and always on, our inner self is often the first casualty. A 2024 study from the World Health Organization estimates that 15% of working adults experience burnout annually, driven by relentless demands and lack of support. Linda's story reflects this, a culture that rewards overwork but punishes authenticity. Jung would say this disconnects us from the self, creating a void only meaning can fill.
Now, the twist. The hero's rebirth. Linda's collapse was her darkest moment, but it was also her turning point. Bedridden, she began to listen. She journaled, pouring out her frustration, her grief, her lost dreams. She realized she'd be living for others, the team, the company, even Anton and Bertha's egos, but not for herself. Inspired by a book on Jung, she found, she started small rituals, morning walks, sketching in a notebook, saying no to extra tasks. She reported Anton and Bertha's misconduct. But this time, her goal was different. It wasn't about winning a battle or seeking revenge. It was an act of loyalty to herself, a declaration that her well-being was no longer negotiable. Whether her higher-ups listened or not was secondary. The true victory had already happened within her. As it turned out, changes were made. Bertha was reassigned. Anton faced scrutiny. But Linda knew these external shifts were merely a reflection of the new world she had built inside. But the real transformation was within. Linda rediscovered her love for art,
a passion she'd buried since childhood. She enrolled in a painting class, finding joy in colors and shapes. She reconnected with Ethan, not as a co-worker, but as a friend who reminded her of her worth. Slowly, the fog lifted. Linda returned to work, not as the old persona, but as a woman who knew her limits and her power. She set boundaries, delegated tasks, and led with authenticity. Her team noticed the change. She wasn't just a manager, she was a leader who inspired because she was whole.
Linda's burnout was her night of the soul, as Jung would call it, a descent into darkness that led to light. She emerged not as the perfect assistant manager, but as a hero of her own story, integrating her persona and shadow to live closer to herself. Her journey shows that burnout isn't the end, it's a call to awaken. So, what about you? Have you felt that bone-deep exhaustion, that loss of spark? Jung would say it's yourself knocking, demanding to be heard. Remember the lesson from Linda's journey. Your burnout is not your enemy, it is a messenger in disguise. Your only task is not to fight it, but to listen. So start small. Write one sentence about what you're feeling. Take one deep, conscious breath, and in the stillness that follows, ask yourself, what do I truly need? Say no to one thing that drains you. These aren't just steps, they're acts of courage, reclaiming your soul from the grind. Burnout isn't your defeat, it's your invitation to become the hero of your own life. Thank you for joining me in Linda's journey. If her journey touched you, let's keep going together. Like this video if you've ever felt crushed by the weight of burnout. Subscribe to Psikelogy to transform exhaustion into meaning. Comment below if you've heard your soul calling through the fog. Share your truth. And share this video with someone who needs this hope today. Because burnout isn't the end, it's the beginning of your rebirth.